They thought Earth was weak, insignificant, forgotten. But when the stars turned cold, humanity reminded them who we really are. They wanted peace talks. Earth sent a Marine. The station hangs in the void like a monolith, a testament to galactic neutrality. Its gleaming metallic halls stretch out in all directions, stark and sterile. The walls are adorned with alien banners that flutter in the synthetic wind, their designs alien and mysterious. 100 species have passed through here, but none of them truly call it home. The air is thick with tension, the kind of atmosphere that clings to you like a second skin. Lights flicker sporadically, casting shadows that seem to pulse with every step. Above, the massive domes of the council chambers loom, their spires like watchful eyes, always observing. Everywhere, hidden cameras scan every move, every word, capturing every detail to be analyzed later in 1,000 databanks. The truth is, this station isn't neutral ground. It's a trap, a well-decorated prison for those who dare to step inside. The heavy hum of the station's machinery blends with the distant chatter of alien voices. But one thing is clear, this is not a place for peace. It is a place for power games, a place for hidden agendas. The peace talks are just the prelude, and everyone here knows it. There are chairs, but no one sitting in them comfortably. Sergeant Mason Cade steps off the shuttle, the hiss of the door closing behind him cutting through the silence. His boots clang against the metal floor as he strides into the sterile hall. He's a giant in full combat armor, a living tank who doesn't belong here. His helmet is reflective, showing only the faintest image of the room behind him, but his presence fills the space with the weight of 1,000 unspoken threats. The diplomats in the room stiffen. Eyes dart to the massive figure in the doorway, and then away, unsure of what to make of him. No pleasantries, no handshake, no formal greetings. Cade just smirks beneath his helmet, taking in the room with military precision. This wasn't what Earth sent him here for. Diplomacy, peace talks, all that nonsense was just a front. This was a message, a statement. A Marine doesn't need to say much. His armor does the talking for him. The memory of recent skirmishes still lingers in the minds of all involved. The brutal battles between Earth and the Krell, a war fought in the cold emptiness of space. 1,000 ships, 1,000 lives lost in the blink of an eye. Flashing images of space battles, the glint of laser fire as it streaks through the blackness, the explosion of a Krell ship torn apart by Earth's relentless firepower. And then came the diplomatic accidents, a sudden, unprovoked attack on an Earth colony, a Krell diplomat's assassination under mysterious circumstances. The media covered up the truth, but Earth knew. Earth always knew. Trust was gone. Negotiation was a farce. The Krell were ruthless, and peace was a dirty word, stained by the blood of fallen soldiers. There was no honor in these talks, no hope of resolution. They were just another phase of a war that had been raging long before the diplomats were called in. Sergeant Cade's mind drifts back to the facts. The Krell were notorious for their backroom assassinations, whispering death into the ears of those who would dare cross them. They wielded technology that could wipe memories, twist minds, control thoughts like puppets on strings. The Federation called for peace talks, but Cade knew better. The Krell's smile was laced with poison, their word a lie wrapped in silk. He wasn't here to talk. He wasn't here to negotiate. He was here to survive, and maybe, just maybe, to send a message that Earth wouldn't be manipulated. The weight of it settled on his chest. He wasn't a diplomat. He was a Marine. The only way out of this station alive would be through blood, not words. The doors slide open with a hiss, and Cade steps into the grand chamber. Polished stone floors gleam beneath his boots, and towering alien sculptures loom overhead, their intricate designs casting long, eerie shadows. The walls are lined with alien artwork, designed to impress, to intimidate. Everything about this place is meant to bend its visitors to the will of the Galactic Council. Above him, high in the observation decks, the Council watches. Representatives from every known species, their eyes gleaming with cold indifference, their thoughts hidden behind perfect masks. They are the judges, the ultimate arbiters of the galaxy's fate. But Cade sees them for what they are, puppeteers with knives in their hands. They wanted peace, Earth didn't trust them. And Cade, he wasn't here to play their game. He was the wrench in their machine. The peace talks would fail today, not because Earth wanted war, but because peace was something the Krell couldn't offer. Cade pauses in the center of the chamber, eyes scanning the room. He remembers the orders, clear and simple. Don't trust, don't blink, don't lose. A military operation disguised as diplomacy. This wasn't about peace. This was about breaking the Krell's hold on the galaxy, about sending a message to anyone who would dare think Earth was weak. The Council could try to sell their version of peace, but Earth's true mission was far more dangerous than anyone realizes. The weight of it presses on his shoulders. He isn't here to negotiate. He's here to disrupt, to make sure peace doesn't happen. Not today, not on the Krell's terms. Cade's voice cuts through the chamber, dry as bone, sharp as a knife. So, who wants to talk? The words hang in the air, loud and unapologetic. His helmet gleams and the room falls silent. Every alien delegate stiffens, their eyes wide with surprise. They weren't expecting a Marine. They weren't expecting this. Cade isn't just a soldier. He's a statement. And in that single line, he's declared the game for what it is: war. No one moves. No one breathes.
Cade stands alone in the center of the room, fully armored, completely aware of every predator circling around him. The Council, the Krell, and every species present are here to manipulate, to twist this moment into something else. But Cade isn't buying it. He's the soldier in a snake pit, and the only thing he trusts is his training. No one moves, no one blinks. He's the wrench in their machine, the spark in a powder keg. This peace, it's going to be war. And Earth's just getting started. The grand hall shimmered with polished stone, the sleek contours of alien architecture designed to intimidate and awe. The Krell stood poised, imposing, their movements sharp and deliberate as they unveiled their offer. Behind them, hologram flickered to life, flawless, serene. Peace, they said. Prisoners would be released, trade routes would open, their fleets would pull back, easing tensions that had spiraled into months of brutal conflict. The offer was perfect, too perfect. Sergeant Mason Cade stood at the back, arms crossed, his battle-worn eyes scanning the smooth faces of the alien diplomats. His combat armor hummed softly, the cooling systems just loud enough to remind him he was still in a war zone, no matter how polished the words that filled the air. The Krell's leader, his broad, angular face framed by alien tendrils, spoke again, his voice smooth as silk, dripping with faux sincerity. We seek no more bloodshed. Earth shall prosper as we prosper, our future united. Cade's gut churned. The room was perfect, the air immaculate, but it reeked of lies. He could feel it, could taste it. The galaxy had taught him one thing. When they promise peace, there's always a cost. And more often than not, it was paid in blood. Cade's instincts kicked in like they always did on the field. His HUD blinked to life, quickly scanning the room. He could almost hear the systems whirring in the background as his mind sharpened. Something was off. His eyes flicked over the surface of the negotiation table, too clean, too flawless. His gaze shifted to the diplomats surrounding it, their movements too rehearsed, their eyes too calculating. Beneath the polished marble, hidden in the smooth contours of the table's legs, he saw them. Micro-turrets, barely visible to the untrained eye. His jaw tightened. This wasn't a peace table, it was a trap. The Krell's smile failed to hide the malice that simmered just beneath the surface. Cade's grip tightened on the wrist of his armored gauntlet. He could already hear the hum of the turrets activating beneath the table. The room wasn't what it seemed. No, this was a wolf in sheep's clothing, and Cade wasn't about to let it bite.
His gaze locked on to the slight shimmer in the surface of the table. A faint reflection betrayed the hidden weaponry nestled beneath the glass. Hidden away, but not out of his sight. Cade's eyes flicked toward the Krell diplomat, his lips moving in smooth, practiced speech. But Cade wasn't listening. His mind was already 5 steps ahead, planning, calculating. It was a game of deception, and the Krell were the masters. The diplomats didn't smile like they had peace in mind. Their smiles were cold, too controlled. A flicker of metal beneath the glass. Cade wasn't naive. He'd been in enough skirmishes to know what was hidden in those spaces. This was not a negotiation. It was an ambush waiting to happen. Cade's attention snapped to the Krell diplomat, his face blank and composed. But Cade wasn't fooled. He quickly cross-referenced the facial markings of the man's species, comparing them against the intel he'd gathered from his missions. This was no bureaucrat. This was a war general. The diplomat's eyes narrowed slightly, just enough to give the game away. He wasn't here to talk. He was here to lead an attack. It all fell into place. The trade routes, the prisoners, the false promises. The Krell had used every diplomatic channel to line up this moment, and Cade knew exactly what was happening. This wasn't peace. This was a final step in their plan to crush humanity's resistance, and Cade was here to stop it. Cade's helmet buzzed, a low-frequency pulse breaking through the ambient silence of the room. His AI system flared, picking up a hidden relay nearby. A wave of cold realization washed over him. Someone was watching. Someone was listening. The pulse wasn't random. It was data, transmitted from somewhere in the room, likely directly from the Krell. His visor flicked through the frequencies. They were transmitting targeting data. The Krell had already planned their attack. The very air around him seemed to freeze. Every alien eye was trained on him now, as though waiting for him to react. But Cade wasn't going to give them the satisfaction. His mind raced, calculating, planning. There wasn't much time. Cade's chair screeched across the floor as he stood. The soft hum of the room seemed to stutter, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. He removed his hand from the armrest and stood tall, his armor clanking in the dead silence. This isn't a peace table. It's a launch pad. The room went still. His words lingered in the air, heavy as the weight of the 1,000 unseen eyes that followed his every move. He turned sharply, his boots clanging on the stone floor as he walked toward the exit.
Every alien delegate stiffened. They were trapped. They'd known peace was never on the table. But now, the truth was out, and Cade was going to make sure they knew it. Back in the secure command room aboard his ship, Cade stared at the comm screen. The voice of his superior barked orders at him, demanding he stand down. "Sergeant Cade, we need you to follow protocol. You've jeopardized the talks. This could lead to war. Do you understand what you've done?" Cade's grip tightened on the comm device, his fingers digging into the cold metal. The voice continued to drone on, but it was background noise now. He had made his decision. "No," Cade growled, cutting through the static. "I understand exactly what I've done, and I'm not backing down." They wanted him to be a pawn, but he wasn't one of them. He was a soldier, a Marine, and the mission was clear.
This wasn't diplomacy. This was survival. Ignoring the call to stand down, Cade began his own investigation. He moved through the station like a shadow, his armored footsteps silent on the metallic floors. His AI fed him security feeds, scanning for anything out of place. He was right. The Krell had already started their war. He found hidden weapons caches, secret military comms channels, and access points that led to the heart of the station's core. The Krell weren't just planning an attack, they were already executing it. It was only a matter of time before Earth was pulled into the firestorm. Cade wasn't about to wait for permission. It was time to act. The sleek, gleaming walls of the Krell embassies stood in stark contrast to the tension filling the air. Earth's diplomats, all too eager to believe the peace offer from the Krell, whispered amongst themselves, their eyes darting nervously. Cade watched from the shadows, his jaw clenched tight. His fingers brushed the edge of his holstered sidearm, ready for anything, though he hoped it wouldn't come to that. The alien negotiator, tall and imposing, droned on about trade routes and the release of prisoners. But there was something off about it. Too smooth, too polished, like a lie dressed in velvet. The voice of the Krell was filled with promises, but Cade had learned long ago that a diplomat's word was often a veil for hidden daggers. He scanned the room with his HUD. His instincts kicked in. His mind processed every movement, every breath. His eyes lingered on the diplomats, the glint of their eyes not quite matching the words they spoke. His thoughts were interrupted by the subtle motion of Krell guards, their hands hovering near the weapons concealed beneath their robes. This wasn't diplomacy. This was a trap. Cade stood over the body of the junior envoy in his quarters, his stomach twisting in disgust. The body was pale, lifeless, posed in a way that screamed accidental. But the sharp, acrid smell of poison in the air said otherwise. The envoy had been poisoned, and the message was clear: silence or die. The note left beside the body was almost too neat. Peace is fragile. Don't disrupt it, or we will take the next step.
His fists tightened. He had seen too many deaths in his life to mistake this for anything less than a warning. Cade's breath came in sharp, controlled bursts. He could feel the weight of the envoy's death settling heavily on him. Whoever had orchestrated this was beyond reasoning, and Cade knew he was about to be swept into something far darker than a peace treaty. Cade's mind raced as he made his way to the Krell security offices. He knew that whoever had been involved in the envoy's murder had to be close by. When he found the security officer, he didn't waste time with diplomacy. The Krell's stance was too tense, his hands twitching beneath his robes. Cade stepped forward, his voice cold. "You know something." The guard's eyes flared with surprise and fear, but before he could react, Cade grabbed him by the arm, spinning him into the nearby wall. The fight that ensued was brutal. Claws slashed, fists collided, but Cade was quicker. He took the officer down with a well-placed elbow to the throat. As the guard gasped for breath, Cade rifled through his belt pouch. He found the list. Detailed coordinates of Earth's military bases, science outposts, and embassies. His heart sank. This wasn't peace. It was a kill plan. Cade stood frozen for a moment, the weight of the list heavy in his hands. These were not just targets. They were Earth's lifeblood, its military heart, its scientists, its diplomats. His gut churned. They're going to kill us all. The realization hit him hard. Cade's voice was barely a whisper, but the anger was palpable. He couldn't let this slide. He wouldn't. Before he could process the full scope of what he was looking at, his eyes caught a glimpse of something moving behind him. His hand instinctively reached for his weapon, but it was only Sura, the neutral species translator, stepping forward, her face pale with horror. She had seen the list. She knew what it meant. Sura stood silently, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. She had always believed in the ideals of the Galactic Council, in their peaceful missions, but now she couldn't deny it. What she had just seen shattered everything she had worked for. You're going to expose this, aren't you? Sura asked, her voice steady but filled with unspoken fear. Cade met her gaze. There was no time for half measures anymore. Yes, and you're going to help me, he said, his voice a low growl. We can't let this go on. Earth can't survive this. Sura hesitated, her eyes darting between the list and the door. I shouldn't, but I will. I can't live with myself if I don't. Her faith in the council shattered. She made her choice. She would stand with Cade, whatever it cost. Cade's comms unit buzzed, a new message blinking into view. It was a coded message from Colonel Levin, sent on the sly. Trust your gut. Push harder. We can't afford polite lies. The words hit Cade like a punch to the chest. They were a green light, permission to do whatever it took. The Colonel, someone he had fought alongside for years, understood what was at stake. Cade wasn't alone. He nodded to Sura, his resolve strengthening. We're not backing down.
Later, Cade stood alone in a dark, narrow corridor of the station. The silence felt suffocating. His mind replayed the faces of his fallen comrades, their voices echoing in his head. Peace. He wanted it. The last war had cost too much. But now, with the Krell preparing to betray them, Cade was faced with a choice. His desire for peace had always been rooted in survival, in the hope that humanity could evolve beyond constant conflict, but not at the cost of Earth's destruction. The pain of what he might have to do settled deep in his chest. I won't let it happen, he muttered to himself. I won't let them die for nothing. The ambush was set. Sura had used her access codes to gain entry to a Krell officer's quarters. Cade waited in the shadows, weapon ready. When the officer walked in, Cade was there, his gun aimed steady. Talk, Cade demanded, his voice low and threatening. The officer's eyes widened, but there was no hesitation. He knew what was coming. They were supposed to be killed mid-ceremony. Your diplomats, the plan was already set. A war was always the goal. Earth was never meant to be an ally. Cade's blood ran cold. The Krell had planned to massacre them all and paint it as an accident. Earth was nothing more than a pawn in their war. Cade's grip on the weapon tightened. This ends now. The fight for Earth's survival was far from over. But now, Cade knew what he had to do. The treaty hall gleams with a polished sense of ceremony. White marble floors stretch beneath soaring vaulted ceilings. At the far end, a colossal hologram of Earth flickers against the far wall, symbolizing humanity's fragile hope for peace with the Krell. Yet beneath the surface, there is an unmistakable tension, palpable in the cool, sterile air. Hidden cloaked drones hum softly in unseen corners, their lenses trained on every movement. The floor itself hides silent bombs, ready to be triggered at the slightest provocation. Cade stands at the edge of the room, his jaw clenched. His eyes scan the room, taking in every detail, every crevice, every shadow. His gut tells him something is wrong, and he's learned long ago to trust his gut. His heart pounds in his chest, not from fear, but from the anticipation of the inevitable. Sura, standing beside him, seems unfazed, her fingers lightly brushing the datapad in her hand. She's the translator, the one who bridges the gap between them and the Krell. But in this moment, she's more than that. She's the last line of defense. The heavy doors slam shut, and the assembly of alien dignitaries enters. Their faces are cold and calculated, unreadable. The Krell leader, a towering figure with jagged metallic skin, stands at the center of the room, his gaze flicking briefly to Cade before he assumes his position.
The negotiations begin. Words are spoken, but Cade's mind drifts. The treaty is supposed to ensure peace, but all he can feel is the weight of something darker looming in the air,
something they can't see but know is there. The world may burn, but all around him they insist it is peace. Sura's voice cuts through the heavy atmosphere, her tone unexpectedly calm. We've found the bombs. She sends the message directly to the Krell, an audacious bluff, but one with its own calculated risk. The message pulses through the encrypted channels, a single line that shatters the delicate balance of silence. The room freezes. For a moment, it seems as if time itself halts, as though the galaxy collectively holds its breath. The Krell's expressions shift imperceptibly, tension rippling through their ranks. Panic surges in their eyes. They were so sure of their plan, but now, in an instant, they are unsure. The Krell leader's lip curls in a brief snarl, his voice low and guttural as he orders his officers to secure the situation, but the panic in their eyes speaks volumes. Cade feels the shift before anyone else, his fingers tightening around the cold grip of the kill switch, the device that could end everything in a flash. Sura turns to him, a look of determination in her eyes. "It's time," she says softly. He nods, his gaze flicking once more to the Krell leader. They're not just negotiating peace. They're trying to make sure Earth never leaves this room alive. Cade steps forward, his boots echoing ominously across the marble floor. His chest rises and falls with each calculated breath. In his hand, the kill switch hums, its power sending a subtle vibration up his arm. The Krell leader watches him, lips pulling back into a sneer. "You're out of your depth, human. Do you really think you can threaten us?" Cade's voice is steady, but his words crackle with cold certainty. "I'm not threatening. I'm offering you a choice. You can agree to peace, or you can go down with this entire hall." The room holds its breath as the tension rises, but Cade feels the pulse of it, the crackle of something about to break. He dares them, dares the entire council to make a move. The Krell leader looks to his officers, and for a fleeting second, there is a question in his eyes. Will they risk everything for this war? Without warning, the air is split by the deafening roar of gunfire. Bullets and plasma rounds slice through the air, ricocheting off the walls as the once civil room descends into chaos. Cade dives behind a towering alien column, heart hammering. The stolen Krell weapons feel cold and heavy in his hands. He fires back, hitting one of the guards square in the chest as the alien crumples to the ground. Behind him, the glass windows shatter and the high-pitched whine of plasma blades cuts through the air. He's surrounded, but Cade's not backing down. Not now. Not ever. He rolls to the side, using shattered tech as a makeshift shield. His breath comes in sharp gasps as he turns and fires again, the shots echoing in the chaos. His mind works in overdrive, calculating, reacting. This isn't just a battle, it's survival.
Meanwhile, Sura runs through the maze of back corridors. Her heart races, but she forces herself to focus. The secret transmission to the Krell war fleet must be cut. It's the only way to stop the war before it even begins. Her steps are quick and calculated, echoing against the cold, sterile walls. She passes maintenance rooms and empty halls, dodging fire as she moves with agility, her eyes fixed on the console that controls the transmission. She reaches it, her fingers trembling as she plugs in the emergency override. The screen flickers and dies. She smirks, but it's short-lived as more gunfire erupts from the corridors. Her calm crackles to life. "We're almost there, but you need to move faster. They know." Sura's breath catches in her throat. The clock is ticking. She has to finish this, or Earth will burn. The blast rocks the hall. Cade's body is thrown backward, and a cry escapes his lips as pain surges through his chest. He looks down. Blood. It's not a superficial wound. But before the world tilts completely out of focus, he sees a technician lying on the ground, dazed and stunned by the explosion. Without hesitation, Cade moves to cover her, wrapping his body around hers. His arm shields her from the next blast, but the pain is blinding. His legs buckle, but he grits his teeth and presses on. He's not just a soldier, he's human. Despite his wound, Cade forces himself to the front of the treaty hall where the main broadcast feed is still live. Blood drips from his brow as he yanks the controls, the desperate motions of a man who knows this could be his last shot. His voice crackles over the feed, unwavering. To the entire Galactic Council, this is Cade Monroe, and I'm about to show you the truth you've been blind to. As the camera pans, Cade's bloodied face fills the screen. Behind him, the evidence is clear. Dead bodies of the Krell guards, the weapons they were supposed to use against Earth, the betrayal that was planned for years. This is the peace they offered us, Cade says, his voice shaking with anger and pain. And this is why Earth will never back down. The transmission cuts. The hall erupts into chaos, but Cade stands unbroken. The grand hall that was once set for peace now stands in shambles. Shattered banners hang from the walls, their once pristine fabric now torn and stained with the violence that unfolded in an instant. Empty chairs sit in a cold, eerie silence. The treaty, a symbol of hope for unity, has crumbled under the weight of betrayal. The air smells of burned metal, and the remnants of combat flicker in the dim lighting. The sound of heavy footsteps echoes across the stone floor as the last few figures gather, bruised but not broken. Cade stands at the center of the wreckage, his heart heavy, his hands still trembling. The weight of what just happened presses down on him. He knows they won, but the cost was steep. The Krell thought they could deceive humanity, but now they have seen just how deadly Earth's resolve can be. Cade doesn't feel victory in his bones. He feels the bitter taste of a peace that never was, the dread of a war that may never truly end. This wasn't supposed to happen. Sura's voice is soft, but laced with an unshakable edge of determination. She steps forward, placing her hand on Cade's shoulder. We did what we had to. We're alive.
The room is heavy with the ghosts of fallen comrades and the broken promises of the galaxy. But Cade knows this: humanity never gives up, even when the odds are impossible. The Galactic Council was quick to react, their condemnation of the Krell swift and unforgiving. In the silence of their chambers, the words of judgment rippled across the cosmos. The Council has imposed sanctions, military restrictions, trade blockades, and an overwhelming shift in the balance of power.
They expected a puppet race, not a firestorm, Sura mutters, watching as the holoscreen flickers with the Council's harsh response. The galaxy now watches with bated breath as Earth stands unbroken, while the Krell face the full force of their actions. Across the stars, voices begin to rise in support of humanity. The rest of the galaxy, once indifferent, now sees Earth for what it truly is: resilient, powerful, and capable of striking back with unimaginable force. No longer is Earth the naive child of the stars. It is the reckoning. The Krell may have been humiliated, but Earth is just getting started. News of Earth's victory spreads like wildfire. It's not just the military victories that catch the eye of other civilizations, it's the sheer audacity of humanity's defiance. One species stood up against the galaxy that had tried to crush them and survived to tell the tale. It wasn't pity that won them allies, it was respect. The quiet whispers of the galaxy's other species begin to change. They had seen humanity as insignificant before, just another fledgling race in the vastness of space. But now, they see Earth as a force to be reckoned with. Alliances are formed, trade routes reopened. Earth's voice is now heard louder than ever. We've done it, Cade says quietly as he watches the stellar alliances unfold. But his voice isn't filled with arrogance. It's something else. Something humbler, like a man who's finally realized his worth. Not just for Earth, but for all those who never had the strength to speak up. Cade blinks awake to harsh fluorescent lights. His head throbs with the remnants of pain, and his body feels foreign, heavy, slow. But it's the familiar sound of Sura's teasing voice that pulls him back to reality. "Did you really think I'd let you die in that mess?" She chuckles, her figure a blur as she moves to his side. "You're tougher than that, Marine." Cade groans, trying to push himself up, but his body protests, muscles still healing from the battle. The bed he lies in is nothing like the battlefield, and yet it feels like an alien world to him. He should feel relieved. He should feel safe. But there's an emptiness that lingers. His war is far from over. "Everything's fine now," Sura continues, her tone softening. "The Krell are crippled. The galaxy's listening. You don't have to be the weapon anymore." But Cade's mind drifts, not to peace, but to the aftermath. The choice is still ahead. His fingers flex, feeling the weight of the future even in his weakened state. Peace is just a word. He'll fight for it. He'll fight for Earth. But his role in this war is far from over.
Sitting up on the medbay bed, Cade stares out of the window, watching the stars. The reflection of his tired face stares back at him from the glass. The once proud Marine now carries the weight of an entire planet on his shoulders. No longer just a soldier, he's something more, a symbol of survival, of defiance. But he feels the weight of it all. He's haunted by the memories of war, of the endless battlefields, of the lives lost. But as he watches Earth's flag wave proudly in the distance, a sense of clarity washes over him. He's not just a weapon. He's the line between extinction and survival. And for the first time in a long time, he's okay with that. "We've won," he whispers, as if convincing himself. But the war never ends, does it? A sharp knock at the door interrupts his thoughts. It's Sura again, her face more serious this time. The galaxy is waking up, Cade. There are others who want to see Earth burn, and they won't stop until they get their way. But there's something else too. They're afraid of us, afraid of what we can become. Cade stands slowly, determination filling his bones. Then we'll show them exactly what we are. Let's make sure Earth never falls. News from across the galaxy continues to pour in. It's not just the political fallout that's captured the attention of the stars, it's Earth itself. Humanity is now whispered about in dark corners of distant worlds, not as a primitive race, but as a terrifying force that speaks the truth without fear. They aren't reckless, they're deliberate. They aren't primitive, they're dangerous. The galaxy looks on as Earth stands at the crossroads of a new era. An era where humanity isn't just surviving, but thriving. The lies of the Krell have been exposed, and humanity's future is no longer uncertain. Earth isn't a pawn in someone else's game. Earth is the game changer. And it's not just about fighting. It's about the moral choices they'll have to make next. Peace? Maybe. But Cade knows this. The galaxy isn't ready for what humanity will do next. And that's exactly how they want it. Scene 1. A new lesson on an old world. The classroom is silent, its sleek, high-tech walls reflecting the pale glow of the red giant star that looms just outside the window. The pupils are young, curious, eager, alien minds from all over the galaxy, studying one of humanity's oldest legends, Earth. The galaxy had seen many species, many worlds, but Earth was a story of resilience, of survival, and of rebellion against impossible odds. They were brave, one of the students whispers. Another adds, they were never supposed to win. The teacher, a tall figure with bioluminescent skin, nods solemnly.
That's why we study them, because they remind us, no matter how small you are, your will is your greatest weapon. Scene 2. Words that changed the galaxy. In a vast hall aboard a council ship, the quote now glows on the wall in every known language. Earth doesn't send diplomats to lies. We send truth. Sometimes it wears armor. It is simple yet profound. The words, originally spoken by a single human, now echo throughout the stars. Every species, from the gentle Kalor to the war-hardened Ulari, has heard it. For them, it is no longer just a sentence. It is a creed, a promise of humanity's strength.
And humanity, like the echo of those words, carries their weight. They are no longer just a fledgling race. They are a power, unyielding, relentless in their pursuit of what is just. Scene 3. The unseen battlefield. The footage flickers on a small screen in a distant council chamber. Cade stands alone at the treaty table, facing an alien tribunal. His posture is unyielding, his eyes locked with the stern faces of his counterparts. One by one, they try to undermine him, to force Earth into submission, into accepting an unjust peace. But Cade is different. He isn't just a soldier. He is the voice of humanity's rage and truth. His hand rests on a live kill switch, silent, deadly. No words are spoken, yet the tension in the air is palpable. The Krell representatives look around nervously, knowing that any sign of treachery would be met with an immediate response. Silence falls. Cade's presence isn't just about muscle or weaponry. It's the raw, undiluted honesty that radiates from him. He doesn't need to say much. His actions speak volumes. The galaxy watches, and for once they realize Earth is not a species to be pushed around. Scene 4. The last question. In the alien classroom, the students now ask more questions. Questions about humanity's legacy. The teacher stands at the front, his thoughts clearly on Earth's bold stand. As the questions fly, one hand raises, timid, yet eager. "What's a Marine?" the young cadet asks, his voice filled with curiosity. The teacher pauses, his expression softening as the weight of the question settles in. He smiles, a knowing smile that speaks volumes of the respect Earth has earned. "A Marine?" The teacher chuckles softly, his voice reverberating in the room. "A Marine is what keeps the peace. They don't just fight. They ensure that the truth always rises, no matter the cost." The cadet nods slowly, trying to grasp the depth of such an answer. He now understands that being a Marine isn't just about combat. It's about carrying the burden of the truth, of standing firm against the darkness. Scene 5. The legacy of one man. The galaxy knows the name. Cade. No medals, no statues. Just a name etched into the very fabric of galactic memory. He wasn't a king, a leader, or a hero in the traditional sense, but he was the spark, the one who stood for humanity, who dared to be the embodiment of their unwavering spirit. One Marine, one doctrine, and an entire galaxy that now thinks twice before underestimating Earth again. His legacy isn't of grand monuments or stories sung by bards. It is a quiet, powerful presence, a reminder that even the smallest voice can shatter the silence of the stars.